Yup, Barbenheimer weekend is finally here, and I decided to see this movie first. Ooh boy. Oppenheimer. So Oppenheimer is the newest film written and directed by Christopher Nolan. You know who that is. The mind behind the Dark Knight trilogy, Interstellar, Inception, Tenet, Dunkirk. Now he brings us his second World War II movie, a rated R 3-hour drama. A biopic about the life of physicist Julius Robert Oppenheimer, known the world over as the father of the atomic bomb. This movie shows the story of how he came up with the idea, how he came to work for the US military, how he gave the United States the atomic bomb in the Manhattan Project, and how he personally deals with becoming death, destroyer of worlds. This movie is that and more in 3 hours. And I guess Chris Nolan took a lot of inspiration from the book American Prometheus, since that is pretty much what Oppenheimer was for us. He was Prometheus. If you don't know the Greek myth of Prometheus, Prometheus was punished by the gods for giving the gift of knowledge to man. Yes, I took that exact wording from Portal 2. But that's pretty much how Oppenheimer saw himself. He was burdened with this terrible gift of this knowledge. I guess I'm getting right into him. And that was actually a really interesting aspect of the movie, because it's something I'd never really even thought about when it comes to him. I mean, granted, I'm not usually a history buff, but yeah, I never wondered, what must it be like to be the father of such a weapon of mass destruction? This is the atomic bomb. It is the weapon of mass destruction. The atomic bomb, for better or worse, probably worse, is one of the greatest inventions of human history, because it is literally the greatest weapon ever invented. How must it feel to be the mind behind something like that? That's actually really interesting. And I did like how this movie does delve into that with J. Robert Oppenheimer. Which, of course, the other side of that, Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer is fantastic. And this is the first time I've seen him as the main character in a movie since 28 Days Later. So it's been a while for me. This movie does go to show that he should play main characters more often because he is such a good actor. I mean, sure, you've heard about his piercing blue eyes, and yeah, that is apparent, but his performance does show that stoic doesn't necessarily have to mean boring. I'm not saying he's stoic throughout the entire movie, a good 90% of it though. He is stoic, but I mean, give the guy a break. Given his place and position in American history, he feels like he's carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, because it's World War II and those communists are out there.
And I know what it means if the Nazis have a bomb.
So we gotta beat them to it. Cillian Murphy might just be nominated for an Oscar for this movie, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. That being said, this movie has a huge cast of so many famous actors. Emily Blunt's in the movie. She plays his wife, Kitty. She has a couple of pretty emotional scenes. Robert Downey Jr. is in a lot of the movie. He was really good. I also really like Matt Damon. He's not in this movie as much as the trailers made it look like he was gonna be in it, but I liked him. He was kind of this old, grumpy military dude, and for some weird reason, a couple of his scenes actually made me laugh. And of course, not in that ha-ha funny humor kind of way, but just with the dialogue. Some of his scenes in particular were just funny to me. With such a huge cast of well-known actors, that does work to the movie's detriment at times, because sometimes I'll be like, oh wow, it's that actor, and that'll be distracting from the dialogue for me. It's like the fact that that actor even showed up in the movie is more interesting to me than what the hell they're even talking about. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, one thing that had me worried about this movie in particular is that none of the trailers that I saw, even in IMAX theaters, showed the IMAX aspect ratio. Again, this is the IMAX lover in me talking, and I know the trailers say shot with IMAX or filmed for IMAX, but seeing the trailer in theaters, I was like, was it though? Yeah, don't worry, there are plenty of IMAX aspect ratio scenes in the movie. Over at least half the movie was shot with IMAX aspect ratio. Just for some reason we never saw that in the trailers. I don't know why. Which, if we're talking about the visual effects scenes, yeah, of course they're beautiful. Effects-wise, Nolan always crushes it in that department. You already know this. And yeah, the big word of mouth says that he used no CG at all in this movie, which, what? The fuck you talking about, really? So the big nuke scene where you have an atomic bomb explosion on camera, that was actually done on location. On camera. Yep, it was. Get out of here, that is awesome! And it's that kind of authenticity that Nolan is known for. His love and passion for filmmaking comes through in all of his movies. I mean, there are a couple of scenes where I was like, how could that have been done without CG? I don't know, but the fact that they pulled that off, that is super impressive. And the nuke scene itself, when it is all going down, they're testing the bomb in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and the countdown's going 10, 9, 8. You feel the tension building. You're like, holy shit, this is about to be the testing grounds for the biggest weapons development ever in human history. We're about to see it on the big screen in IMAX. Holy shit. Yeah, that shit was pretty fucking cool. And so the movie does nail all the emotion behind Oppenheimer's psyche, and the visual effects are gorgeous whenever we're talking about science or nukes. But folks, there is another aspect of this movie that I did not take into account, which I really should have, and that is the dialogue. This is a 3-hour movie, mind you, and it's a 3-hour political biopic. And the nuke scene is only one scene in the movie, which means for most of the screen time, you're sitting there watching politicians talk about politics for 3 hours. And it's not like the movie ever simplifies it for any of us mortals down here who are uneducated about the subject, like moi. No, the dialogue is going, and just like in Nolan's last movie, Tenet, I was sitting there in my seat for like 95% of this movie going, I have no idea what the fuck any of these people are talking about. And it just loses me. And I know this is just a personal preference thing with me. This movie is not my kind of movie, personally. I'm not into politics. I don't watch Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes. I know people who do, which is why I even know those names. But yeah, to quote the great Six the Musical, politics, not my thing. And so if that's not your thing, then this movie is not going to be your thing. And because it's not really my thing, I was bored for a lot of this movie. Now, I'm not saying the movie's bad, you just gotta know what kind of movies you like. Again, the acting was top-notch from everyone involved. Even my girl Emma Dumont is in this movie, gotta give her a special shout out, cause we were in the same high school briefly. The directing, the editing, the cinematography, the visual effects, it's all top-notch. It's just the dialogue that really lost me. And it's the reason that I don't really see myself ever watching this movie again. But of course, the score was good, and like Nolan's last movie Tenet, this one was scored by Ludwig Göransson. Gotta wonder if Nolan had some sort of falling out with Hans Zimmer. I don't know. But Göransson's score was great. Again, very good at building up the tension. There are a lot of scenes where like the score's building up, the dialogue's building up. You're like, oh my god, you got that sound effect going that sounds like a weird heartbeat that happens a lot in this movie. And again, those emotions really do land. And a lot of that is thanks to the score. So in the end, Oppenheimer is going to be a rare case where I'm going to give this movie 2 different ratings, since it really does depend on what kind of movies you like to watch. If you know what you're in for and you're into politics and you like slow dramas, then this movie will probably be for you. So for Oppenheimer, in your case, I will say, go see this movie right now, because it really does excel at everything it does. But if you're like me, and you're not usually into these kind of movies, if you're more like, whoa, alright, I'm looking forward to Haunted Mansion and Ninja Turtles after that, then for Oppenheimer, I will say, wait until you can stream this movie online. Cause like I said, for the most part, this movie bored me. It's really not my kind of movie. It's like the movie Air. I saw the movie Air not too long after it came out, but I chose not to review it because I was like, everything about the movie is really well done, but I was really bored. It's just not my cup of tea. So there it is. So Oppenheimer, have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? Am I nuts? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now if you'll excuse me, new trailer for The Marvels just dropped. Holy shit, yeah, now that looks like my kind of movie. I know what video I'm making next. Peace!